What's up, everyone? This is Mike coming to you live on another episode of One and Done. Today's a special episode because we actually have a guest on the program. With me today is Will, which some of you may know as an admin of the Collector Group. How's it going, Will?
It's great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me and hosting me, and we'll have fun talking about Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Dragon Ball. There's a lot been going on in Dragon Ball lately.
There has been a very exciting time, I think, and markets moving, and it's been great.
Yeah, definitely. Today is mid-July, and for us specifically, we were actually at Comic-Con a couple of years ago when Bandai actually did, I guess, sort of like advertising for the game.
It was like a large debut, or maybe not
Yeah.
debut, but definitely marketing push for Dragon Ball TCG. And they had a wonderful display on the floor where you could buy packs, as well as an outdoor. You didn't have to be a Comic-Con attendee. It was open to the general public, and you could just walk in and take pictures with a giant life-size Vegeta and a giant life-size Goku. And those are some of the highlights of my memories that I remember.
I'm actually really jealous because I had no idea that they were doing anything outdoors until way later. Like when I was at the event. Yeah, I think they did like a live Kamehameha, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe they did that, and they also had the superhero game. I'm probably gonna forget what the actual term is, but the machine that like spits out a card, and you can play it like digitally. They also had that set up outside, and you could wait in line, and you'd get like a free promo of that card. And they were also giving out promo cards. It was a Goku, if I remember, for Dragon Ball TCG. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff outside that was quite really fun. I think they had a comic as well, a free comic.
Wow.
So I spent a lot of time there.
No, that's awesome. How did you know about that? Did you just like stumble upon it while you were walking around outside, or did you actually like was it in like the schedule anywhere?
That I probably don't remember. I mean, the thing about Comic-Con is I'll admit I've been going since I was a teenager. I'm a San Diego native, so my first Comic-Con I think was 1996 or 1997. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I obviously went with my parents. And then in high school, by the time I had a driver's license, I was going by myself. And back then it was easy. I mean, you just roll up and you would buy your badge that day, and you could park. I mean, there was no issues like it is now. And then of course I went off to university and kind of lived other places for a while, and I did miss quite a few years, probably 2004-ish or maybe 5 to 2009 or 10 when I moved back to San Diego. And then I started going, I think I went every year from like 2010 to until this year, because obviously we've missed 2020 with the COVID-19 and no conventions this year, thanks to that stupid virus. But but yeah, I have a lot of friends that go, and they give me the heads up, hey, and I'm pretty sure I got shot a text message. Hey, Will, did you see Dragon Ball outside in the back? And I think staying at the Marriott or whatever, and so I think they could see it when they walked by, from their hotel. And I was like, no, I didn't see that yet. So, and that was like Thursday. So I of course went and checked it out Friday after I'd done like my normal indoor stuff on Thursday.
Did you actually know about Dragon Ball before Comic-Con?
That's a
Not
good
Dragon Ball like
question.
the franchise, but like specifically the
Yeah,
card
I
game.
assume so. I think it was debuted at Gen Con, and because of for those of you that don't know me, I'm a huge Magic the Gathering collector and player as well, but more on the collector side. And I believe I kind of got a tip from one of my friends who was at Gen Con saying like, hey, Will, I know you do other TCGs sometimes. Like, have you checked out Dragon Ball? and I had no clue. And so, to be honest, the really first time I think of me opening packs was at that 2018 San Diego Comic Con. I'm pretty sure. I could be.
So did you actually buy you bought packs at their booth, or how did you get product?
So at San Diego Comic Con in 2018, I know for sure because I pulled up the photos to make sure. So in 2018, it was July 20th, so it's like 6 days from now or whatever.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I bought packs they had a booth inside Comic Con, kind of what I consider the far right wall. When you walk in would be the right side, and they had a big booth there just for Dragon Ball TCG, and they were selling the pre-made decks, and they didn't sell Tournament of Power packs. It was I think it was Colossal Warfare, and I'm pretty sure those were my first packs that I opened. And I think Tournament of Power being so limited, they didn't. I think either they sold out of it, or they just didn't have it, or maybe they were just trying to push the Colossal Warfare. So I bought those. Let's see, I can count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like I bought 7 packs randomly. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I bought packs and cracked them, and I just learned the game like that day. So
That's really cool. Do you remember what you pulled?
I don't, and I didn't. It doesn't look like I took photos either. I just was looking to see if I did. I know we bought the 2 pre-made decks, and I didn't take pictures of those, so I'm going to forget even which one, but it was the Colossal Warfare when they came out, whatever the pre-made decks were there. And I know there was like a Piccolo deck, and then I think there was a what was the other one? I don't know. I played the other one, and I think it was super unbalanced. So my friend, after losing 3 times to me, was like not interested in learning. He liked Piccolo a lot. That was the problem. He didn't want to change decks because like, I'll play your deck, and he's like, well, my deck just sucks. So, anyways, that was unfortunate. But I did have enough fun then for me to be like, hey, I need to check this game out, and that's sort of what caused me to dive in. And then I think it probably wasn't for 2 or 3 months. I can't remember when I created the collector group, but at some point I decided, hey, I should do this. And then that's how we met. I don't remember how we met. We met on.
It was long time ago. I honestly don't remember either. But I do.
I don't know. Somehow.
I do think it's super interesting how different our stories are of how we started getting into Dragon Ball, but we had similar origins. Because for me, just like you, I had found out about the game at Comic-Con. And interestingly enough, that was actually my first Comic-Con ever. So totally opposite of you, that you've been going since like your childhood. It was my first time ever. And so it was just crazy timing, I guess. I was walking around just in awe because I've never been at a Comic-Con before, and just, amazed at all of the different franchises that I've been used to seeing since I was a kid actually be there at an event. And I just happened to see Dragon Ball, and I was like, I wonder what's going on there. And the salesperson rep, that's, I guess, whose job is to try and get people excited about the game, right? He just told me like, hey, check out the new Dragon Ball card game. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he definitely had somehow mentioned to me the fact that, yeah, we just released this new set. It was super limited, super rare, hard to get, and it's sold out everywhere. And it totally just piqued my interest because, I was already collecting before, other card games, mostly Pokemon at the time. And so, I'm all about stuff that's rare, stuff that's hard to find, stuff that's limited, but I was never really used to hearing that from modern stuff. You're normally like, surrounded by modern products so much these days because companies just want to make as much money as they can, that you just don't hear about companies doing stuff that's limited. So I kind of took what he said with a grain of salt. He's a sales rep trying to get people excited, but I was also kind of curious. And so I went with the rest of Comic-Con, enjoyed it, but it kind of sat in the back of my mind, and I was just like, huh, let me look into it. And when I got back and I started doing more research, that's when I realized, this is actually interesting stuff. It's not a set that is heavily printed. It's not a set that is easy to find. It's sold out everywhere, and compared to Pokemon, these prices are crazy cheap. And so my whole angle was, trying to hunt for these rare cards that are really cool looking and not expensive to collect. Whereas with you, your angle was, hey, this card game looks like fun. These decks are fun to play with. I'm going to keep playing with it. So it's kind of interesting how like we both came out of Comic-Con interested in, Dragon Ball card game, but from different perspectives. So
Yeah, and I just to make sure that I have my history straight, because I'm pretty particular about that. I just looked up. So actually, unlike you, probably I was very slow to acquire some of the more expensive cards, just because I was a player right at the beginning.
yeah, your mentality going into it was so different than mine.
I just wanted to jam cards.
Yeah, yeah.
What changed everything, I just looked it up. I went to Vegas for the regional in October of 2018 with about four of my buddies from San Diego. And I didn't do very well. I forget, I think it was maybe a 10-round day or an 11-round day. And I think I went like 3-6. And so by the time I hit like 4, I already knew I was kind of out of the tournament, but I just kept playing to get the practice in, and I had a great time, even though I was losing pretty bad. And I was like, man, if I'm having a great time, even though I'm losing, like obviously the game interactions are really fun, because normally when you lose, you're like pissed. And I have a picture here from when I came back from that tournament. I picked up a Son Goku Awakened Power, the Ultimate Force SSB Vegito, and the SS4 Son Goku Secret Rares. Those were the ones I picked up, and so that was the first time I picked up like the expensive Secret Rares and was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I don't know when, I think it was shortly after that though that I created the collector group. It might have been December or January.
So you're saying from July until October, you had never acquired a single secret?
Yeah, I didn't. I was just playing the game.
Wow, that is like the complete opposite of me.
And I have this photo that shows the secret rares in it. And I was like, okay, now I'm kind of serious about the game. Well, let me take a step back. The reason I was much more cautious with Dragon Ball is in 2017 I went full idiot, or whatever word you want to use, on Final Fantasy TCG. So the same kind of thing, a franchise I really loved. I grew up with Final Fantasies, but kind of totally different in the sense that Final Fantasy is a video game franchise, and I don't think it has as large of a collector base as Dragon Ball does, and I think that's what's hurt it in the end, and it just never really got off the ground. The player base is super, super tiny. I am lucky in the sense that California is probably the best player base for Final Fantasy, but I went super hard and bought like foil play sets of that game, like complete sets of set 1, 2, and 3, I think. And then when I realized like, okay, my initial fever was over and I went to try to like cash out, I realized I was going to lose maybe hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. And I was like,
wow.
And so then I decided instead of losing money, I would just hold it. And so that's what I did. I still have actually I have the 3 binders, and it's full play sets of foils of Final Fantasy TCG. And so I think with Dragon Ball, that's why I was so much more cautious, because I get really hyped really easily about TCGs, and I love them and I love playing them. And for me, it's that experience with my friends and then building those memories, and then it turns into nostalgia later. And so I was much more cautious with Dragon Ball because of that kind of Final Fantasy. Just the year before, almost the same thing. It was debuted for me at Comic-Con. I played at their booth, it got free packs, got promos, and then just kind of went wild and started playing like, every week if I could at the time. And and the scene kind of built up and does what most TCGs do when they're new. The tournaments go up to 20, 30 people, and it's really exciting. And then, after 2 or 3 months, people have either moved back to their old TCGs or it just kind of dies out. And it's really hard to keep a new TCG going, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me with Final Fantasy and maybe it was longer, maybe it was almost a year. But I also travel a lot for work. So sometimes I disappear for 3 months or 6 months. And so time can be like a little skip in my brain. But it felt like all of a sudden I wasn't playing Final Fantasy anymore. And then I had all these cards and I was like, what do I do with them? And I love the art and I love the cards. So I actually ended up just keeping it all. But because of that sort of reaction to like, oh man, if I turn these in, I'm going to lose a lot of value. Then when DBS came around, I was like, okay, this time I'm not going to go. I was a little more hesitant. But then after that tournament oh yes, and I just found the group photo. So October 20th is the day I think I created of 2018 was the Dragon Ball Super TCG Collectors group. And I took a photo of all the secret rares I had at the time. And by that time, I acquired a lot. I think I put the word out to one of the big dealers who I met at that regional and was like, "Hey, I need these cards." And I see from the photo at this point, which is only 13 days later from October 7th, I have 4 awakened powers. So I upped it by 3, and I have 4 Demigras, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there.
So would you say your interest in collecting from playing happened because of your experience at the regionals?
Yeah, I mean it was because I had so much fun at the regionals.
Right.
I was already collecting silly things like Whis is a character I really enjoy, and so I was collecting all the cards, and they were like so cheap. I mean, like some of the cards I was buying were like 10 cents, maybe even less. And if you know about other TCGs, and normally if there's a card you like and it's good art, and even if it's like been a playable card, I mean, it's going to normally cost you $2, $3, $5, $10, right? And so when it was 10 cents, I was like, shoot, just order a whole binder full,
Yeah, exactly. That was the beauty of Dragon Ball coming in. It's just that you'd see these prices that were just like pennies sometimes.
Anyone that complained about collecting cardboard, I was just like, okay, well, if you think it's too expensive, you should check out DBS because it's free. It felt so free when we got into it.
Yeah.
Could just buy so many, and you still can. There's still so many great card arts that you can have for a very, very reasonable price.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the beauties about Dragon Ball is that their art is good even on lower tier stuff, that for a lot of people that are more sensitive to their budget, they could still have great looking cards and not spend a lot. It's kind of nice, I'd say. And definitely something that, Dragon Ball brings that some of the other TCGs is kind of hard to. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting. So, today I made a post, and I'm going to talk about it. So I've been calling my favorite 5 cards from the Tournament of Power, the TOP 5. And to me, it's like the 5 best cards from Tournament of Power. Obviously, Awakened Power is the most expensive and most iconic, but I think we're starting to see that the signed cards are treasured very highly too. And it was interesting. One of the comments said, y'all only like it because it's rare. And I think he's missed the boat on that in the sense that, like, these cards, yes, they're rare, but there's other cards that are just as rare in DBS TCG. And I think what the difference is that this is some of the earliest rare cards that were super, super beautiful and very special. And for you and me, I did see them on display at Comic-Con. So my first memories of DBS TCG are these cards, actually.
So they actually had them on display? Because I don't remember that.
Unfortunately, you didn't get to see it, but and I didn't take a picture of it, unfortunately, but maybe I can find one online because for history purposes, I probably should. in the outdoor section of that 2018 Comic-Con, they had a little spot that was like, buy at your local game store or something, and it showed the signed cards and the Awakened in a little display case. So my first memory of DBS TCG, actually, because it was before I cracked those packs and it was before I bought the pre-made, it was those signed cards and the Awakened Power. So for me, like, that's my alpha, and so that's one of the things that drew me into this game. When I saw those signed cards, I was like, oh man, I really got to get those. But then I looked up the prices and I was like, man, that's a lot to spend on a new TCG, and I need to behave myself after Final Fantasy. Looking back, I wish I had done the opposite and been very cautious with Final Fantasy and went super hard on DBS. But you can't always be right, and that happens. But I'm lucky I have as much as I have already in Dragon Ball, and I should be thankful for that. So. After that October regional, I pretty much went pretty hard into the paint and spent quite a bit of money collecting the cards and getting. And now I have quite a large graded collection. I think it's actually 168 individual, maybe not individual. There's a couple. Quite a few actually that are duplicates. So I got to go back and check that, but I have at least 168 graded DBS cards now, and I still my big weak link there, of course, is no graded 10 BGS Awakened Power yet, but I have a couple that are really clean, and I don't know, maybe I'll get the balls to send it over the mail, although I really hate that person, but. With COVID, I probably won't be able to do it in person until 2022 at this point or something. But we'll see. Maybe I'll figure out how to submit online.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for sure, man. I hope you're able to get one. I'd say, the funny thing is, back in those days, you wouldn't worry as much sending this stuff out to grade because it wasn't worth as much.
Yeah.
But now with time gone by and how these cards have just skyrocketed in value. Now you're a little bit more hesitant to let go and send these to grade, so I totally get it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where you're just like, it gets a little nerve-wracking with the value, and then
yeah
they're human, and they're not what do you call it? They're not really insured. If they damage your card, you're just kind of SOL. And
yep,
unfortunately, I've had some friends in the Magic world that like a Alpha Lotus or has been bent. Like, oh, I can't imagine that, so obviously our cards are nowhere near that kind of value, but it just always makes me nervous when I'm sending these cards somewhere until they're in that plastic case, and then I'm like, okay, now it's safe.
Definitely. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. This was really fun, Will. Thanks for coming onto the channel.
Yeah.
Definitely fun reminiscing. It's really interesting to see the different perspectives of how we both started in Dragon Ball and started in the same place.
You need to learn how to play, buddy.
I do. It's definitely on my to-do list. Whenever I have time, I will definitely try and figure this thing out. Maybe after COVID's over, I can just come over and you can force me to learn.
Yes. That sounds like a good weekend. Come down and we'll hang out and play Dragon Ball.
All right. Well, thanks again, Will. Thanks, guys, for listening in. And, we'll have to do this again sometime.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Take care.